What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of Bulls Latest. Your host, Matt Johnson here. Going to kick off today's show by previewing the Bulls' second preseason contest tonight against the Cleveland Cavaliers, the second of a home-and-home. It'll be the Bulls' first contest of the year at the United Center. I know Bulls fans are excited to get the home slate started. 7 p.m. Central Standard Time tip. It will be on the Chicago Sports Network. The Bulls are a 4.5-point underdog. The total sits at 232 tonight. You can catch the Bulls at plus 150 on the money line. The Cavs are favored at minus 180. When you look at this game as a whole, I expect to see a lot of the same in terms of the guys they will roll out there. Tonight, I don't necessarily expect to see Coby White just yet. I think as we move through tonight's game and then Sunday against Milwaukee, I think you have a good chance of seeing Coby for the first time next week as they play the Denver Nuggets next Tuesday night here. I think that's a realistic timeline for when Coby could be back here. I just think that when you look at some of these competitions in terms of position matchups for the Bulls, I think that it makes sense to be cautious with Coby. You're going to need him in the early part of the season here as the Bulls kind of find their footing in terms of different lineup combinations. And I just think that, looking at Kevin Huerter and his struggling, he kind of struggled in the preseason opener, so they want to get him some minutes. Okoro looked decent playing his old team, obviously. That's exciting for him, but I expect to see another big night out of Okoro. I think Modest is a superstar in the making. I think a lot of the NBA is starting to notice that this kid has the goods. He has the makings of a potential NBA superstar down the line here. So I'm excited to see him continue to ball out here. Looking for better performances out of Vooch and Giddey tonight to get things going and get themselves into game shape ahead of the regular season kicking off. So a lot to look forward to, a lot to be optimistic about if you're a Chicago Bulls fan tonight. Kind of looking at the best bets from a betting angle tonight. I gave you guys that winner in the first game there with the over. I expect this one tonight, although the total sits at 232. It's a very similar number. I think it's going to be a slower paced affair. I think you're going to see the under take shape here. I would lean under 232. My best play here would be the Bulls plus 4.5. I think the Bulls are a solid team when it comes to depth in the preseason. You saw them go down double digits multiple times in that opener against Cleveland. And they just kept in the game. A lot of contributions from different guys. And I really think that that's going to continue tonight in Chicago at the United Center. In the second game of a home-and-home, you already saw this Cavs team. I think the Bulls have a good look at what they're going to bring to the table. I think Cleveland is probably going to start a lot of the same guys. You're going to see Hunter out there. You're going to see Donovan Mitchell. I wasn't too sure if they would play him in the opener. He got some decent minutes there. So Cleveland is going to see and roll out a lot of the same guys. I think there's plenty of motivation for both squads and key players tonight to kind of get things going. So I think it will be a tighter affair in terms of the total going under there. Lean the Bulls plus 4.5 as well. So let me know what you guys think, what you guys are taking. I know it's the preseason. It's hard to kind of get the numbers right this early on, but I think that's got some decent value if you're looking to play this one. Kind of switching to something I've talked about a ton, and it's not so much the win total itself, but what it states about this Bulls team. And the fact that the Bulls in a lot of shops are sitting at 31.5, 32.5 wins. I saw it at 32.5 wins a while back. I think it may have dropped a game. I think that they have a really good shot just kind of analyzing this Bulls team as a whole to hit the over on that win total. I think the Bulls could project to be better than their win total says that they're going to be. This feels like a case really of the market just not really paying attention to this Bulls team. Chicago has won, and I talked about this in yesterday's show, either 39 or 40 games across each of their last 3 campaigns. So, when you look at this Bulls team as a whole last year, they went 17-10 post All-Star break without Zach LaVine. So you're going to bring back a lot of those pieces. Zach Collins had a very encouraging performance last night, or in their first preseason opener, I should say, a couple nights ago. The Bulls have made it clear, and I know it's painfully clear for some Bulls fans, but that they've rather pursue a play-in berth than a high spot entering the lottery. So I think the Bulls are set on competing and winning ball games, and I think that they're going to blow that win total out of the water, so to speak. So I just think, when you look at the Bulls, Chicago's direction leaves much to be desired, but the Bulls should be competitive. I think they're going to play a lot of competitive basketball, especially in the early portion of the season up till the February deadline, really. Who knows what pieces are going to be moving? I'll get to that in a second here. The Bulls are expected, and there are some new reports that kind of point to this as we embark on the start of another season, but the Bulls shopping a few key names. And a few of these names are, ones that we've been talking about really since May, but I expect Vooch to be, creating a lot of noise coming back to dating back to last year, really. He's been talked about as being moved. I know Golden State was interested. That kind of fell apart. The Bulls are likely to try and continue to shop Vooch as well as Pat Williams. I'm seeing a lot of chatter on him. It will be a cautious market for Vooch in particular. Pat Williams, I don't really know what to expect. You guys know I've hinted at that a few times throughout the offseason, and that he could gather some interest from some of these other teams, and his age is really the key factor in making him a good trade piece for somebody, given how hefty his contract is, and really something the Bulls look at in terms of something that they may not have necessarily pulled the right strings on in terms of giving Pat Williams that money. So it'll be interesting to see what his market is overall, given that contract situation. I do expect the Bulls to be active, though, in moving guys. I think how they fare in the first part of this season has a lot to do with what their future is going to look like. I mean, the East has a ton of injuries. You got star players out. You got guys who are going to change the trajectory of the Eastern Conference with not being on the floor. So I'm excited to see where this season goes. I think Indiana is an interesting team to watch. I think Cleveland obviously is the cream of the crop in the East. We're getting a good look at them tonight again. But there's a lot to kind of look at and have questions about in the Eastern Conference. Not a lot is set in stone. When you look at the West on the other side of things, you know what you're going to get with a lot of these teams, with the exception of maybe Dallas. There's a ton of young talent there and a lot of excitement with that organization. But, overall, I think the Bulls are in a good spot to be, where they've been the last couple of years. Whether you like it or not as a Bulls fan, you want to kind of choose a direction you want them to tank and get that lottery. I don't think that's going to happen this year, and I certainly don't expect them to win, north of 45, 50 games. But I think they could middle it out again to being a 40, 41 win ball club and hit that over on that win total by about 9 games. So we'll see what happens there. Overall, though, we're going to watch. I'm excited to see some of the things tonight in the second of a home and home. I think the Bulls have a lot to show and a lot to figure out ahead of that home opener and the regular season opener against Detroit at home. So we'll see what happens. I want to thank you guys for joining me on another episode of Bulls Latest today. Let me know what your best plays are tonight. What do you expect on the Bulls win total? Would you want them to shop guys like Vooch and Pat Williams? And I'd be interested to see what the thoughts are in terms of where Bulls fans' heads are at as we embark on yet another season kicking off here. So thanks again, guys, for joining me. We will catch you tomorrow with a recap of Bulls Cavs tonight. Thanks.